Okay, hello everyone. I hope I am audible and much visible.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon. So let's see. Let's start where we left yesterday. So we were talking about in statistical data mining. We're talking about first unit, and that is nothing but introduction to data mining. So just to tell you that which part we have discussed, and then I will move forward. So we talked about introduction. What is data mining? We are seeing concept of data mining. We have discussed technologies used. Data mining process, right? Yesterday we talked about this one, KDD process, KDD process model, which starts from databases, cleaning, and all those things, right? So we talked about that KDD process, which is something important for your exam point of view also. And yes, that is what generally we make use of in real time. So that's a theoretical concept which we tried to discuss yesterday. Now we will today we will try to talk about the next thing, that is this one, crisp DM. What is this? Why it is used? And what's the concept behind that? Right? So and what are the rules? What is the process followed for this one? We will try to talk about this particular thing, and then we will try to see mining on different kinds of data and in general applications of data mining and challenges of data mining. These are some of the theoretical points which are relevant. So before that, as I was talking about that KDD process yesterday, so some of you have told me that okay, you are aware about databases, you are aware about some tools and techniques to fetch the data from the databases, right? So we talked about something called as SQL yesterday. So many of you asked me that okay, I could give some basic idea about that. Maybe what I will do in lab, I will try to demonstrate that. I will try to execute some statements, but here I will just give you a brief idea about what is that SQL and which are the different types of statements you can make use of in SQL and what you should know. Right. So let me just give you an overview about SQL, because as we are talking about data mining, so definitely you need SQL kind of a thing to get some data from the database, to do transformations, different types of transformations like deleting columns, adding columns, and all those things. So basically, SQL is a structured query language. So whenever we say structured, that means it can be applied on relational databases, right? But right now you will see that we have some databases on which you can use SQL kind of a language. So if someone is aware about SQL language, it always helps to understand other languages, because whenever we talk about big data, so maybe unstructured data can be there, but unstructured data also you can query with the help of something which is similar to SQL. Let me give an example here. So there is something called as Hive. Hive is Hive and HBase. HBase is one of the types of databases which can store the semi-structured kind of a data, which is not structured. But there is one language actually which Hive makes use of, which is called as HiveQL. And HiveQL is exactly similar to structured query language. That's why I told you that having a knowledge of structured query language definitely helps. It will help you to query whatever you require from the databases, and it's not that much difficult. So structured query language is actually divided into different categories, as I was discussing yesterday, right? So the first category of structured query language, it is data definition language, so which we call it as DDL, that is data definition language. Now these statements are used at the start of creating the tables, creating the databases, and all these things, right? So as I told you that I will be if you want, I will be demonstrating all these statements, at least one example of each one of them, uh, maybe in practical. So maybe I will have to check whether the database is there in my case. If it is not, I will install it. So data definition language itself tells you for what purpose actually it is used. So it is data definition language. That means you are going to store the data, right? Before storing the data, obviously you need structure. You need a proper structure to store the data, right? So how many number of rows are there? How many number of columns you are going to need to store the data, and all those things you should be ready in advance if you are going to store data in database. So we have seen that the statements like create, it comes under data definition language. Create, alter, then drop, then truncate, and rename. Okay, so some of you said that some of the statements you are aware about, but some of them you are not aware about, or might not have used that. Might have heard about that, but might not have used that. So data definition language, one of the important points about data definition language is that if you execute any statement out of all these statements, so any DDL statement you execute, by default it means commit. By default it means commit. So I hope you people are aware about this particular word commit. Or can anyone talk about this one? Can anyone tell me what is commit? What do you understand by commit? Whenever we fire a statement, fire a command which is starting with commit, what do you mean by that? First of all, have you heard about this? Are you aware about that commit?
No, no, sir.
Okay. So see, what happens is, just take an example of ATM transaction, right? So whenever we go to ATM, maybe to withdraw money, so suppose initially there are two people, there are two accounts A and B, right? Now the person who is having account A, initially his balance was 500 rupees, and here also the balance was 500 rupees in case of B. Now A wants to transfer money from A to B, from account A to account B. He wants to transfer money. So what will happen in that case? That means he wants to do transaction. So suppose he wants to transfer 50 rupees from A, suppose 100 rupees from A to B. This is what they want. A wants to do. Now, if 100 rupees are transferred, that means here it will remain 400 and here it will be 600. Just try to see that earlier the addition of these two was 1000 and now also it should be 1000. It should not happen that here it is 400 and here it is 500 and addition is, so it should not happen 400 and it is 500 only. So it should not happen like 900. It should be consistent. Addition of these two should be same which was initially, if you just talk about these two accounts, right? So this complete thing is called as transaction. Now see what happens is, you are able to do this consistency only because of some commitments. So so if this is not committed, if this particular thing is not committed, that means for now you can just take it as save. If it is not saved, that means there will be no consistency, and if there is no consistency, then there will be a big problem, right? Let me give you a simple example of some statements which will demonstrate you, or which will make use of this commit statement clear. For example, now as you told me that you people are aware about some of the statements in SQL. So for example, there is a table, right? And in that table initially there are 10 rows. Initially 10 rows are there. Now what you people have done is you have inserted two more rows. So you fired a command called as insert and you added two rows. Now there are how many rows? 12 rows, because you have added two more rows. After that you fired a delete command and you deleted three rows. That means now there are 9 rows, right? You deleted three, that's why 9 rows are remaining. After that, you let's suppose after that there was a problem because of power cut or something like that. So you just disconnected from the database. Now, can anyone tell me how many rows will be there in that table? See, first of all, 10 rows were there. You fired insert command, inserted two rows. You fired delete command, deleted three rows. Now my question is, how many rows will be there? There is a power cut, for example. There is a power cut. And after that, if you check in your database in table EMP suppose, how many rows will be there? Can anyone tell me? Did anyone try out this particular thing? Maybe try to shut down your machine in between, and then what happens to the database? First of all, let me know. Have you understood my question?
So there should be 9 rows, right?
9 rows you are saying. Okay. Any other answer? Anyone? If someone did not understand my question, please let me know. So this particular question, a person should be able to answer if and only if he or she has done it practically, right? Yes, anyone? He is saying 9. Any other answer in you or same thing?
So maybe we
I'm
get
going to say
the first entry, like the 10 rows.
You will get 10 rows, you are saying?
Yeah, maybe because the commands like insert and delete will be like overridden because of the power cut, and we'll get the default value.
Right. So whatever Ishan is saying, that is right actually. So the reason is, try to understand this category of statements. Always remember what I told you. All these DDL commands by default means commit. So see, if I would have done it like this, I will tell you another scenario. Same thing. Initially, I was having 10 rows. We inserted 2 rows. We deleted 3 rows. And after that, I fired a command commit. Commit and colon. That's it. This is the command. After this, there is a power cut. If there is a power cut, okay. In this case, as Nishan told, I am going to get 10 rows finally. But in this case, how many rows I am going to get? 10 rows were there, 12 rows, 12 minus 3, 9 rows I will get. Are you people able to understand this? Because we fired commit command. Commit means commit. That means that is like a save kind of a thing. Whatever may happen after this. After this point, if you log into the database, if you connect to the database, you will see this state of your database with 9 rows. Because you fired a commit statement. Here you did not fire that. Is it clear, both of you, all of you? Both the things, are you clear?
Yes.
Right? Now third scenario. For example, again, you are having 10 rows, you inserted 2 rows, you deleted 3 rows, and you fired a command, for example, maybe any one of these commands, either alter, create, alter, drop, truncate, rename. Suppose I fired alter command, alter table, table name, and so on. Okay. Now there is a power cut after this. Now can anyone tell me how many rows I will get finally? I did not commit. I fired a alter command.
You'll get 10, sir.
You will get 10 rows, right? So if you are saying you will get 10 rows, then it is wrong. Why? I will tell you. See, what I have done is when I have written DDL, data declaration language, so I told you create, alter, drop, truncate, and rename. So DDL by default means commit. Try to understand. DDL by default means commit. That means if you fire any one of these statements, by default it means commit also. Are you getting my point? That means you fired an alter command here. That means it is committed also. That means you are going to get 9 rows. Try to understand this one. I will again repeat. DDL by default means commit. If you fire any one of these DDL statement, by default it means commit. Is it making sense, all of you?
yes, sir.
Right? So that's the
Yeah, sir.
that's the thing actually. Yes. Any question, Ishan?
No, sir.
Okay.
Got it.
So I hope everyone is clear about all these things now. What do you mean by this commit statement? So create, alter, drop, truncate, and rename. Any one of these you fire, and you will see that by default it means commit. Right? So remember the names of those statements which come under DDL, data definition language. That is create, alter, drop, truncate, and rename. Now we will try to see the remaining statements which are going to come under different categories. For example, let me go and so DML we will try to see data manipulation language. So yesterday I had listed on DML also, like you have insert.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, but when we are applying alter command, like
Mhm.
we are altering some value out of the table, right? So
Yes.
if I put alter a particular row, if I remove one more row, okay, so my value comes down to 8.
Do
So,
you do you use do you use alter command to remove row? We use alter command to add or remove columns.
okay, okay.
Getting my point?
The product which you'll get like after it, after the power cut, will be with the alter or we'll get that.
With the alter, whatever you alter.
Okay,
That is the meaning of that DDL is a by default command.
okay.
Right? So insert, update, delete, merge, and see. If you people want to try out this particular thing, I will recommend you try it out with Oracle, because MySQL, what it has done is by default it is not keeping this kind of a rule. It was already earlier, it was there, but if you try out with MySQL, you can also have all the statement by default as commit, but later on MySQL actually has changed it. But in real time, this is what happens. In case of Oracle, you will notice this. Practically, if you want to do that, you go and you try out all these things, you will get the same result. Okay. So DML, data manipulation language, insert, update, delete, merge. So these are the statements which can come under data manipulation language, right? So inserting means you can make use of it for inserting rows. Updating is updating your values in the rows. Deleting is deleting rows, and merging means you can combine the data from two tables, right?
Two tables, yeah.
So what I will do in this case is, instead of telling you the syntax of each one of them, I will directly demonstrate it, okay, in the lab. So that's why I'm just trying to give you an overview. So that is DML. Then data control language. So which were the statements under data control language we talked about yesterday?
Grant and revoke.
That is TCL, right? That is TCL. What was data control language? Commit and one more is there, rollback.
So yesterday you gave it under TCL.
Transaction I give it under TCL.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Wait.
Transaction control language, TCL.
So it is transaction, right? So data control language, that is grant and revoke, right? It is grant and revoke. Grant and revoke. So that is right actually. Grant is nothing but what? See, the syntax of grant is like this. Grant, suppose I want to give maybe permissions like create, alter, drop, truncate, rename, or insert, update. So grant insert. Okay, grant insert on table EMP to user 1. This is the syntax. Grant permission on some table to some user and semicolon. That is nothing but this particular statement. Grant statement is used to grant the permission. Maybe it can be anything. Suppose if you are maybe if you do not want some user to allow him or her to create table in some database, and you are the owner of the database, you can revoke the permission. So you have a revoke statement for revoke create on database name from user. So for revoke we use from keyword. Okay. So revoke is simply going to revoke the permission from the user on that particular table or on the database. Try to understand. See, whenever I say database means what? Database is a collection of related tables. Okay. Ultimately, data will be stored in terms of tables only, but collection of tables is going to be a database. So one database can have multiple tables. And can you even tell me, do you have any idea about something called as schema? Have you heard about this particular schema? What is schema? What do you mean by this? No?
No, sir.
Okay. So see, what happens is in databases, in data mining also, whenever we want to store some data on database, for example on MySQL. So what happens? Suppose I have a table, suppose this table is product table is there. Now to this table, you might be knowing concept of join, right? At least concept of join.
Join, right, sir? Why na?
Yes, join, left join, right join, inner
Yes,
join, outer join, right?
done that.
Right. So see, what happens is whenever you want to create a database, one should be ready with the schema first. Schema is nothing but design. Simple meaning of the word schema is nothing but design. So if this is a product table, this will be customer table. This will be suppose employees table. This will be suppose maybe what I can say is address table, address and so on, something like this. So you can see that to this table, every table is joined. So it's like a star, right? This particular design is like a star. So that is called a star schema. This is one design. This is one structure how we store the data in database. Another design is called as snowflake schema. And snowflake schema is a schema which we generally use in real time, because what happens in that case is, to this table all these tables are joined like this, but it is up to one level. But in case of snowflake schema, this level will be like this. To this table, this table is joined, and to this table in turn this table is joined, right? That means at multiple levels tables are joined. That is called as snowflake.
Like supply chain uses
Right,
Snowflake.
supply chain.
Yeah.
Supply chain is the example where you can show, where you can see that Snowflake's kind of schema is used. But try to understand what am I trying to tell you is, before storing anything into a database, as I told you that even though it's a database, but database we have seen in the previous session, I think in the first session itself, that database is a collection of related tables, right? So before storing data, before moving your data into the database, your schema should be ready, your design should be ready, right? Whether it's a star schema or snowflake schema, and there are others also, but most of the times you will see this one is used. So supply chain, in that case you will see that there are a lot of tables, maybe 200, 300, 500 tables. So all those tables will be joined like this. So they actually make use of snowflake schema in that case. So try to understand, schema is nothing but the structure which gives structure to your database, because without schema you cannot store the data. You can store the data, but it will not be that much meaningful. You will not be able to get whatever you want, right? And if you say that uh, why are we not storing data in one table only, why are we dividing it into multiple tables? Again, there is a reason you might be aware
According to
about,
association.
right? So what will happen if you store the complete data in one big table? Can anyone tell me?
So it will be harder to interpret it, sir. If we store according to association, it will be easy to separate and bifurcate.
Just think that if you have everything in one table only, instead of using concept of join, if you have everything in one table, it will be a really big table. And just think that I want to search this record, so it is going to take a lot of time, it is going to slow down the speed, right? Or let me answer this kind of a thing in another way. Would you like to wait at ATM queue for hours or for days? If you want to withdraw money from ATM, will you like to wait at the ATM queue for hours? The condition is that we even don't like to wait for 1 minute, right? So just think that in case of finance or bank domain, right? In case of banks, if they also would have stored their data in one table only, it would have been very difficult to go and to fetch the information from your account. All those ATM machines will also take a lot of time to withdraw the money, because they want to, they also update everything, right? If you suppose if you have 10,000 in your account and you will withdraw 2,000, so we need to update that particular thing. So to update all those things, to do all those operations, definitely it will require a lot of time for searching. So instead of that, just split your data into different tables, maybe area wise, maybe local, whatever it may be. That's what actually happens. So if you have a very huge data in one table only, it will be really difficult. It will be really time consuming, right? That is one main reason, and obviously interpretation will not be that much feasible, right? So grant and revoke is the command which will help you to give the access to the user. So this type of a command actually used by the people who are called as DBA, database administrators. Then let's try to talk about TCL, commit and rollback. So commit I already talked about. Let me talk about rollback. Okay. Before that, one more statement is there, and that is called as select. So remember, DDL, DML, DCL, TCL, and DQL. This is how they are actually divided. Okay. Now, out of this TCL, let me talk about rollback. So, what this rollback do is, let me tell you. Suppose, same example again. Initially, in your table, you are having 10 rows. You inserted 2 rows. You deleted 3 rows. right? And after that, if you are trying to fire a command like rollback, what will happen is it will go to the initial, it will go to the last state where you committed. So your last state is this one. So this is not going to be taken into consideration. This is not going to be taken into consideration. Once you roll back, you will go to the state where you did last commit. That means here you will get 10 rows. That is one scenario. Let me talk about another one. If you have 10 rows, inserted 2 rows, deleted 3 rows, you fired a command commit, and then you fired a command. Suppose you once again deleted 2 rows. So 12 minus the 9 and 7. And now you are trying to fire a command rollback. Can anyone tell me what will happen? How many rows you will be able to see in this case?
7 only, sir.
7. 7 you are saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so see 10, 12. So here it was 10, then
Well,
12.
in between we have committed, no, sir. So
Yes,
in between we have used commit, so I think 7 only it will be.
but how many rows were there before commit?
9.
9. 9 were there.
9, right?
But after that I deleted 2 more. Now it is 7, and then I fired rollback.
9, then 9.
Then
Sir,
it will,
but you committed before deleting 2, right?
right. So I will get how many? 9. Because I told you it will take you to the last commit, and last commit was here, and last commit has given us 9 rows, right? So after this commit, even if I fired insert, update, delete, or merge, I am going to see 9. If I would have had any DDL command or commit, okay, once again, then I would have got 7. But here in this case, I will get 9. So that is what rollback is. I hope it's clear, everyone.
Yes,
Or
sir.
any doubt?
No, sir.
Yeah. Let's try to move forward. Let's come to the point which we are trying to discuss now. This one, Chris DM. That is, this is also one model. Chris DM is, it is again related to data mining. So let's see what is this and what is that model is, and which are the different processes which we will be able to see in that. So as I told you, this the full form of this Chris DM. Again, it is for exam point of view. This is also important. Let me talk about this one. Chris DM. So it actually stands for cross. This cross is I is for industry. Cross industry standard process for data mining. For data mining. Okay. So cross industry standard process for data mining, that is called as CRISP for data mining. Now what is this? Let's try to talk about that. So cross industry standard process for data mining, also known as CRISP DM, is an open source or I can say open standard process. It's an open standard process model that describes common approaches which we use in or used by data mining experts. So whosoever works or whosoever makes use of data mining, definitely he will come across this CRISP data mining, cross industry standard process model for data mining, and it is actually most widely used analytics model. So analytics, you know, right? It is used for analysis. So most widely used analytics model also, we can call it as which is nothing but CRISP DM. And if you want to talk about the major phases which come under this, they are also similar phases, similar to what we have seen in case of data mining or KDD, something similar to that. So let me write it down here. So see, again, it's a life cycle. It's not necessary that the phases should be in the same order. There might be a slight change in the order of the phases. Everything actually starts with the understanding. Whatever the problem statement is, according to that, you need to go and you need to make change your approach, right? So everything whether there are problem statement, some customer comes to you with some problem statement, so definitely you need to understand that. That means first and foremost thing is what? Business understanding. So try to understand the business based on the requirement. First of all, try to understand the business. So business understanding is the first phase, I can say, from the phases of Chris PDM. That means try to understand what are the different what we can say, different components which are going to come into picture in that particular case. What are the different people who are going to uh, come in that particular scenario? What type of data you are going to get, okay? And what is the expectation and all those things. Now once you understand business, obviously you are not going to achieve the target without the previous thing, right? Without historical data, I can say. So that means I need to say you need to understand data. So data understanding is can be one of the other phases and important phases of this PDM. So once business understanding is done, once you got the overall idea about the business, we need to go deeper and we need to understand the data, whatever is available, maybe historical data from data warehouse. Once that is done, for example, obviously it will take a lot of time to understand each and everything about the data, about the data description, what type of data is available, what type of data is unwanted, what should be selected. All those things definitely going to come into picture. Whether there are some noise in the data, whether there is some noise in the data, missing values in the data, and so on. Those technicalities definitely going to come into picture. That means once you understand the data, you try to prepare the data. That means data preparation should also be done before coming to some conclusion. Before going and designing some model, data preparation should be done, right? So model in the sense, what model is going to help you to classify, model is going to help you to predict, model is going to help you to come up with some rules. Yesterday we have seen KD, right? So here also, once you understood the data, you need to prepare the data to get the model done, and that should be effective model. Effective model means what? There should be minimum error, or ideally there should be no error. Okay, it all depends on which domain we are working. Now once you have your data prepared, now you can go and try to create the model, and that phase will be called as modeling phase, right? Create the model. Now in this case, even though I am writing down this particular in this direction, it can be reversed also many times. So why am I trying to draw this kind of arrow here? Because what will happen is, even though you created the model from the data which is prepared, it's clean, but many times you will notice that you are not able to get the required accuracy. So for that, you need to again go and again train the model. So for that, there might be some change. Maybe you have outliers in your data. Maybe you have some missing values in your data that is affecting your data model. Maybe you have what you can say. Maybe your data is not standardized. Maybe your data is not normalized. It is not correctly distributed, and so on. So that's why you need to go and you need to see all those things and again apply the changes and then again create the model. Or maybe you need to tune the model. Tune the model means you need to see some parameters, try to tweak those parameters, try to change those parameters and see whether you are able to get the good results or not, good outputs or not. Good output, I mean the required output or the desired output, I want to say. Once model is done, many times you will notice that even though we prepare the model, right, but there can be, as it's a business, right, and we know that many times in many businesses you will see that there are changes at different time intervals. So that's why there will be a need to go once again and again understand the business. This might happen, right? And if it is the case, right, and if there is some new thing which is being introduced in that business, here we have actually understood the data earlier data, right? But what may happen is you need to again go here and again understand that, right? If this kind of a thing is happening, So that's why I have drawn these two arrows here. So these two arrows are indicating that if there is some change in the business, and obviously that's what is going to happen. Maybe depending on the policy of the company, maybe depending on the tie-up between the companies, maybe some relationship with the customer, maybe they are trying to grow the business, and so on. There are a lot of possibilities. If that is the case, you need to again go and understand the business and understand the data accordingly, right? And then again, this thing is going to remain same. And once that is done, when everything is fine, now you go and finally get your model in the production. Production, I mean to say what? Production means it should be available to all the users in the real world. For example, you take up example of any application. So that process I will call it as deployment. And unless and until you do not deploy your model, we cannot say your work is done. And deployment is the last stage. Maybe after deployment there can be maintenance, there can be support and all those things. Definitely they are going to happen. But if you are working in a project, unless and until you do not deploy that, you cannot say that it's completed. So deployment means as and when you deploy it, then only you can say that okay, the general public will be able to make use of that. So once it is deployed, many people will be able to make use of that. So what are you going to need for deployment? So for deployment, you are going to need different cloud platforms. I think I talked about some of the clouds yesterday. So there are different cloud platforms which are available. For example, WhatsApp. WhatsApp is actually deployed on cloud. That's why you are able to access WhatsApp from anywhere in the world. You may be anywhere in the world at any location. You are able to see the messages. You are able to see the videos, audios, and all those documents and all those things because it's already deployed onto cloud. It is making use of cloud. So whenever you say deployment, this thing is going to come into picture. Cloud platform. Now there are different cloud platforms you can make use of. So you might have heard about Amazon Web Services. So Amazon provides one cloud that is called as Amazon Web Services. Depending on which type of service you need, depending on how much size you need, they are going to charge you. Right? AWS.
Sir, uh, sir, is Wasabi better than AWS?
Which one?
Wasabi.
AWS is the thing actually which is used most of the times. I don't have that much idea about which one you are talking about. I know AWS and others. I did not use for that one.
SageMaker, na sir,
Okay,
SageMaker.
okay. SageMaker, okay. So if you are saying SageMaker, the cloud name is Heroku. So SageMaker is actually present inside AWS only. It's one type of a service you can say. It's not a cloud. Are you getting my point? Okay, so you are talking about this one, Wasabi. This one you are saying? See,
So yes, sir.
yeah. So see, AWS is the cloud and SageMaker is actually
SageMaker is for machine learning.
Right. It is for machine learning, but it is one of the services which is provided by AWS only.
Yes.
Right. And I did not use this one, Wasabi. I haven't used that, but according to my knowledge and what I see, whatever is going on currently in the industries, I will give the order also. Maybe it's not like that it is not of use. There are a lot of cloud platforms which are available. I will name some of the top cloud platforms. AWS is one. You have something called as Azure. Azure is the product of which company?
Microsoft.
Microsoft. So now I can answer your question. Which one is the better one? So I will tell you that AWS and Azure, these are the two cloud platforms which are most of the times used, and people prefer those. Again, there are different advantages and services they provide. And there is one more that is called as Pivotal. Pivotal is also one cloud which you can go and you can make it. And then obviously Google Cloud Platform is there, which is provided by Google. And if you want to use a cloud which is actually free for 2 years, you can go and you can deploy at most 5 applications on that cloud. That is nothing but Heroku Cloud. So as I was talking about deployment, I think I talked about that one, and I said that I will be showing you an application which I will deploy on the cloud.
It's free, not it's free cloud, I think.
This is free, but it has some limit, size limit. Even see, even this one is also free. They will just what you can say, they will charge $2 or $1
The
only.
days restriction is there.
Yes, but there are some restrictions in AWS. And what
Sir,
is
if data and
Yeah.
data is used, then they charge according to that.
yes, they
AWS.
will charge according to how much data you use and how many services you use. That is not the case in case of Heroku. Heroku is free. So see, if you talk about AWS, Azure, Pivotal, GCP, in every case you are going to need debit card or credit card. Without that, you cannot create account. But in case of Heroku, no need of that. Anyone can go and you can create the account and you can deploy your application onto that cloud. So for practice purpose, I can say you can make use of this. You can make use of AWS also for practice purpose, but you are going to need those credit card details and debit card details for using this thing. Because see, you have a choice. If you do not want to continue with AWS, you can just deploy your application and just discontinue. You will be charged only $1, and that also they are going to credit after some days. That is just to make sure that okay, you are the owner of that credit card, whatever details you provide, right? But again, as there are details you need to give, so obviously you need to take care that you should discontinue after some days. Otherwise, they will charge you, because I myself have faced that particular problem. Once I deployed some applications and I forgot to discontinue that, so they charge me some money. Okay, so that care actually one should take. That is not going to happen in this case. You can have account for 2 years for free, and you can deploy 5 applications. So the point of talking about all these things is that deployment. Whenever I talk about deployment, all these things are going to come into picture, and there are other clouds also. For example, Oracle also has its cloud, Oracle Cloud. You can go and you can mix of that. But if I want to point out the clouds which many people make use of in real time, so AWS, Microsoft Azure, Pivotal, sometimes GCP also, right? But I will name it. I will arrange it like this. May not be true in some cases, but yeah. Currently, if you talk about Microsoft Azure, so you might be knowing that they're about uh, they are actually running a very big business. They have purchased, they invested a lot of money and they have got a lot of projects which are on Microsoft Azure cloud. So the amount is really big, and that's why there are a lot of requirements in from Microsoft related to this one. So currently this one, obviously AWS is very good because it has made a lot of things easier. Specifically, if you talk about SageMaker, some people prefer SageMaker, but people who use SageMaker, what they have done is actually they have done it like this. If you want to make use of SageMaker for machine learning, you should be following all the rules of AWS. So there are some limitations actually that.
Sir, Amazon V3 bucket is also used now, where
Yes,
we
yes, yes.
save
You
images
can
and
make
all.
use of that. So those are services which Amazon provides. You can make. There are a lot of services actually which AWS provides. Okay. So that's the point I wanted to talk about. So see, everything is going to start from business understanding, then data understanding, and in reverse order, then data preparation, and then creation of models. So here you, whenever I say creation of models, so all the things are going to come into picture: machine learning, data mining, data science, data analytics, maybe neural network sometimes, deep learning, depending on what type of problem you're trying to solve. And that means I can say AI, because AI is the bigger umbrella. Everything is going to come under AI, right? But that's not the thing which we want to discuss here actually for this subject. That will be something different, right? But yes, this is nothing but the concept of crisp data mining. This is the flow, I can say, and everything, whatever I talk here right now, everything you will be able to do if and only if you have something like this one. So what is that thing you require is data. Without data, you cannot do all this because, as I told you, it's a cycle. So I can write it down like this inside a circle. Everything is going to be repeated again and again. So I will draw arrow like this. Whatever I have written, it's a cycle. It's a cycle. It is going to follow like this again and again, again and again, unless and until you get the desired result. Right. So I hope you people are able to understand this particular concept. Remember this: business understanding, data preparation, modeling, and finally deployment. So whenever I say data preparation, that means everything, whatever we have seen in TDD or data mining, those things are going to come into picture. That is fetching the data, cleaning the data, selecting the required data, transforming the data, and then loading the data, and then finally creating the patterns. So all those things are going to come under the data preparation. Okay. So it's like evaluation model. It's going to continue again and again. Any question, anyone for this? Any doubt? Yes.
No,
No.
sir.
Okay. Let me clear. So that was about this point.
No.
Risk data. Now, let me mining on different kinds of data. Let me try to talk about this particular one. So whenever we say mining on different types of data, so obviously there are different types of data which we have discussed, like structured, semi-structured, quasi-structured, and unstructured. But when we will talk about, or maybe when we will practically make use of the data and we will see the sources, you will come across a lot of sources which can be structured, semi-structured, quasi-structured, and unstructured. So talking about technologies like databases or data warehouses, talking in terms of computers, how those data can be stored. Let's try to talk about those sources. So I'm going to talk about this particular point, mining on different types of data or various kinds of data. So first thing is going to be, so it means what? It means the data from which from multiple sources are going to be integrated into common source, and that is called as data warehouse, which is for data mining. So what are the sources? So data can come from flat files. Anyone any idea about flat files? Have you heard this word, flat files?
No, sir.
No? So see, let me give a simple example. What do you mean by flat file is, suppose I am writing down data in a table like this: name, roll number, marks, and suppose address, something like this. Now this is not a flat file. This kind of a thing cannot be a flat file, because name I can divide it as first name, middle name, and last name. Okay, roll number, that is okay, no problem. Marks, suppose you have only, you cannot divide it, marks in subject or your total marks. And address can be divided like this, right? Your address 1, address 2, address 3, and so on, right? Suppose address 1 and address 2. Now can you divide any one of these columns further? No. First name, can you divide it further? No. No. That means if you are writing down your table, or if you are writing down data in such a way that you cannot divide the attributes further, that type of a data is called as flat file. Is it clear, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Right? See, this is very, very important concept. Even many experienced people, they are also confused with this. If you understood this one, maybe these kind of things are going to help you in future. That is called as a flat file. Try to understand. And flat files is the thing which we use for analytics. If you have a data like this is also one thing what we do in ETL, extraction, transformation, and load, before cleaning the data. This is the thing one should make sure about. If you are trying to load the data from database to data warehouse, you need to make sure that that data will be a flat file, and then only you are going to load it, because we do not want any confusion, right? That's a flat file. Another source, talking about mining on different kinds of data, another source can be relational databases. Now I think you are aware about this one. We have already discussed that, right? Relational databases. So what do you mean by relation in database terminology? I already told you.
Tables.
Table. So the RDBMS, which deals with tabular data, is called as relational data, database management system. So tabular data. The source can be tabular data also. Another thing is data warehouse. We already seen that. Data warehouse is also a database. It stores historical data, and the size is generally huge. Then there comes another data source that can be called as transactional database. Now, what do you mean by transactional database? That means real-time databases. So I already discussed this OLT, right? Online transaction processing. and this was OLAP. OLAP is the best example for data warehouse, and OLTP is the best example for database or transactional database. That means the databases where we store real-time data. So for example, if you go and if you book a ticket on Book My Show, so internally it is going to make use of transactional database to store the information whatever you have entered, right? So suppose if you go and if you submit some form, exam form, transactional database is being used at the back end. So which is the example of online transaction processing. Right. So that can be a source. Many times you will see that from some databases, data is not being stored in data warehouse. Directly they are trying to send it to some tools where they are going to do analytics on that. Okay? That can also happen instead of storing it in data warehouse. So it is not always the case that if data is in database that should be stored in data warehouse. It all depends on in which domain, for which domain the data is. If it's a small business, maybe they might not want to store their data in data warehouse. They do not want to invest their money in data warehouse. That might be a possibility. So directly from transactional databases. So maybe if you are using R kind of a language, for example, and if you want to fetch the data, so many times you will see that you need to fetch the data from real-time databases also. So these are all the sources from which you are going to fetch the data. Another source can be after this transactional databases, another source can be multimedia sources. So multimedia source or multimedia database. Any example, anyone? Any example for this multimedia database?
Facebook, Twitter.
So those are social media databases. To some extent, you can call them as multimedia databases. So wherever you have audio data, video data, right? So those can be multimedia
Images,
databases.
text,
Yes.
and images.
Text also, images we can say. Images, videos, audio, that can be multimedia. Sometimes mobile phones also. Then comes another source, and that is time series. I think we talked about time series yesterday. Down trend, up trend, no trend. So there can be time series databases also. For example, stock market, right? That's the
Patient's
best.
record.
What?
Finance.
A patient's record, medical record.
Yeah, patient's records you can see to some extent because we have those signals, right? So that can be example
Yeah.
of time series database.
And the stock markets.
Stock market is the best example for understanding time series. Okay, and obviously you are going to have one more thing as a source from which there can be you can access the database, you can fetch the database from that, and that is www. What is www?
World Wide Web.
World Wide Web. What is it? What is it? So how will you define it? Anyone knows that, right? World Wide Web. What is it?
Yeah.
Globally, we have deployed something.
Globally, you have deployed something. Okay.
Or we have any website, then globally it is been used by multiple countries.
Right. So see,
That is a database of every information available on
it's
the
also
web.
like a database, or in that case, I can call it as repository. It's the most heterogeneous repository as it collects data from multiple resources. And the main point about this www is that it's dynamic in nature. Why am I saying it as dynamic? Because as volume of data is continuously increasing and changing, that's why it's dynamic. So if I want to talk about some examples for this, so maybe online shopping, job search, research, or maybe for studying, you can make use of www, World Wide Web. So it refers to World Wide Web. It's a collection of documents and resources like audio, video, text, etc. Which are identified by URLs, right? What is URL? Okay, what is the full form of URL?
Sir, L stands for link.
No.
That's all.
No. L does not stand for link.
No.
No. So we identify
Universal.
no. We actually
Resource locator.
right, resource and locator. What is U? Uniform.
Uniform. Oh, uniform. Okay.
Uniform resource locator. So www, World Wide Web, which we have seen that there are different examples, are actually identified by URLs, right? Uniform resource locator. Through what? Through what? Through web browsers, right? In web browsers we type www.google.com. So through web browsers, which are linked by HTML pages and accessible via internet network. So it is the most heterogeneous repository. Repository I said, remember this. When I talked about www, I said repository. So repository is also like a database, but it's a very big database. Repository. So many of you might be having your accounts on GitHub. So GitHub is also one repository where we can store our projects, where we can store our work. Right? Many people make use of that GitHub. If you are not making use of this one, start making use of GitHub. It will help you for your jobs and to store your work, maybe work related to research or projects or something. Right? So it's a dynamic in nature and application I already told you. Okay, so these are some of the resources which you might come across whenever you will deal with data mining. Right? So try to remember flat file, relational databases, data warehouse, transactional database, multimedia database, time series databases, www, and there can be others also. I'm not saying that these are the only databases which are available. Definitely, you might see something else other than this also, which is possible. For example, let me talk about one more database source, which can be spatial database. Anyone heard about this?
Maps
Yes?
and all.
Yes, maps, and specifically
No.
related to satellites.
Locations.
Can anyone tell me what is the size of an image, one image of a satellite? The one image which is taken by satellite, what is the size of that image? Any idea about that?
No, sir.
No, sir.
So it is generally in terabytes or gigabytes. One image taken by satellite. Size of that image is in terabytes and petabytes. Just imagine how much big it is. You understand this one, right? Terabytes, petabytes, petabytes.
Yes.
So it's really huge. One image taken by a satellite. So they are actually stored in a database called as spatial database. So geolocations, the data which is related to locations, or the data, for example, the images taken by satellite, all those things are going to come under spatial database. SPATIA, spatial. So these are some of the sources where data mining is going to come across. So to which data mining is going to come across, or you might come across all these databases if you work in data mining, right? So these are the things which I wanted to discuss today. Maybe in the next class we'll talk about this one and we will finish the first unit itself, and then we will try to see what is there in second unit. Okay. So any doubt, anyone? Any question from your side? Okay, just send me the seat number.
So can a website be created without WWE?
We do not use website. We do not use www for creating a website. We use it for accessing them. Yes,
So,
yes, it can be. But
Okay.
for that, you need to have server space, your own server space. So it is just like what do you understand what do you mean by localhost? Localhost. What do you mean by
Local
this?
used in our only on our desktop. It
Right.
cannot be accessed by other people.
Right. So you can create a website without www also. So what you can do in that case, what you need to do is just type localhost in the address bar, and write down the port number on which your website is there. So for example, port number 5000. So you will be able to access your website. Are you getting my point? Someone asked me a question. I think Ishan, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Answer will be yes. So I think everyone has sent their seat numbers. Everyone is done. Okay, guys. Then I will stop here, and we will meet in the next class, and we will continue with it.
Thank you, sir. Take
Yeah.
care.
Thank you.
Bye, sir. Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.